It's my honor to be joined today by Mark Egan, world-renowned bassist and composer. Thank you so much for joining me today, Mark.
Well, thank you, Brian. It's great to be here at East Maine. Thanks so much.
So I'd like to start out talking about your fretless playing, specifically about your melodic or your lead playing. In jazz, so many people talk about developing a sound or a voice on their instrument. How did you pursue developing your own sound?
I was originally a trumpet player. I grew up in Brockton, Massachusetts, and all through elementary school, middle school, high school, I was a trumpet player, and I actually went to the University of Miami as a trumpet player. And I started playing bass when I was 16, and I actually brought my bass with me to the university as a secondary instrument. But so I had sort of my experience embedded into me was a very melodicness from playing trumpet. And my first 2 years at the university, I was a trumpet major as jazz major, and I was playing second trumpet, solo trumpet in the University of Miami Jazz Band. And I realized that I really wanted to play bass, which is a big deal, you know, when your identity is a trumpet player, and then all of a sudden you're going to go, now your secondary instrument is going to be your main instrument. But I went for it because I knew that that's what I had to do. I was so driven. You know, it was like a self-realization mode in my head where I had to do this. I felt so strongly about it. So in any event, I transferred a lot of that trumpet melodicism over to bass. So when I first started playing fretted bass at the university, I really didn't have as much of that melodicism as far as the lyricalness and articulation that you can get on a fretless bass. But it was when I got a fretless bass, which Jaco Pastorius gave me my first fretless bass, when I was with the TAPintoTV group. When I started playing that, that's when I really, I think, took the melodicness that was deep in my head from playing trumpet and started realizing that there's so many articulations that you can make because you don't have the metal frets. For people that don't know what a fretless is, it means the metal frets on a guitar or whatever, or bass, they're taken out. So it's really like a cello fingerboard. So I realized that I really want to work on that and explore the possibilities of playing a melody. So it was inspired by the instrument. It's funny how that is. Something's in your hands and you say, wow, I can play it this way, I can play it that way, you know, I've got this vibrato, I can do that. So it was all those things that brought it together for me to bring out my own voice.
You know, this is fascinating. You know, trumpet is a single note melodic instrument and bass is traditionally a root harmonic instrument. Did you find it challenging making that transition from playing trumpet to playing bass?
I think the thing that I was so attracted to bass was the groove, because if you look at the time period where I was really attracted to bass, it was in the mid-60s, that music that was happening. And so on AM radio, you would hear music, Motown music. You'd hear the great James Jamerson, who no one knew who that was at the time because they didn't list the players on it. So all those bass parts were very prominent in the mixes on the AM radio in my car driving around. And so I would listen to that. I listened to Jimi Hendrix and Cream, the Beatles, Paul McCartney playing bass. And for some reason, my ear went to that. I was just attracted to it. Something about it. It's hard to say why you're attracted to certain things, you know, but that, for me, it was. And it was the music of that period and the groove, really, which attracted me to it. So going from trumpet to bass, to answer your question, it was a natural, it was sort of, I already had the melodicism and now I wanted to get into the groove, and I had to go back and start really listening to the groove. And that's what I did mostly. Especially when I came to New York, I realized the importance of bass function and being in the groove. So I have a deep appreciation and understanding of how important it is as a bass player to play the foundation and lay the groove down. But I also have this other element or other aspect of my playing where I love soaring over it melodically and playing loosely and freely. So it's interesting that you just have to really listen and pay attention and be your own teacher in so many ways. And that's what I try to tell students. I don't teach that much, but I give master classes, and a few people I've given lessons to. But just trying to teach someone to be their own teacher and to ask questions.
Mark Egan, I cannot say how great it is to have you on the show. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Brian.